Welcome back. We're talking to Mario Martinez on balancing acts, the CEO of Vengreso and the creator of flymessage.io. We've talked a lot about prospecting, all these sales activities, marketing activities, working on LinkedIn. This show is called Balancing Acts because we as business owners, CEOs, founders are constantly balancing our time and our money. You're growing a technology company. How do you balance the demands of family, personal life, and your business?
That's a really good question. Here's what I can say. I'm not balanced, but I want my family to perceive that I am.
Mm.
So let me articulate what I mean by that. You're right. I started a service-based company, grew that to a very healthy service line of revenue, and then we converted over into a SaaS company, and now I'm trying to scale and grow the SaaS technology company as well. The big challenge that I find, though, is time. And when you're small, it's founder-led sales. You're doing marketing, sales, operations, customer success, accounts payable, receivables, all those things. Everything falls on your shoulders.
Yes.
And how do you prioritize and how do you put that in perspective? Well, here's how I do it. Pretty much all my administrative meetings that I have, I try to do between the hours of 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. Between 8 o'clock and 1 o'clock, it's all around customer engagement, customer management, customer selling. That's really my focus there. What I can say is I easily work 60 hours a week, right? Plus. And so how do I do that and not impact the family? So what's very important to me is that we are together with my two boys. I got a 14-year-old and a 10 and a half year old. I'm with my wife. And so the things that I do actually are essentially at 5:30, 6 o'clock the latest, I shut off. And I'm with the boys and the family until the last person goes to bed, which is roughly around 10 o'clock in the summertime, and then certainly 8:30, 9 o'clock in the school year. And when that happens, I take my time, spend time with the family. We eat dinner together every single night, or relatively every single night, unless something's going on. And it's all about family during the week. And then after they go to sleep, now I go back to work. And so what I've discovered is, especially doing this like for the last, 7 years and starting two companies essentially, or transitioning Vengreso from one company to another after I started it, was the person that you need to take the time away from is yourself.
Mm.
And what happens is you will know when you no longer want to do something, can do something, should do something when it impacts you. It shouldn't impact the family. It shouldn't impact your kids. It shouldn't impact that relationship. Now, I think there's balance times, like every once in a while, there's a major, crisis that's going on or situation. And those are the abnormalities, right? That's something that's abnormal. But really, when it comes down to it, Linda, in my personal opinion, is it's not worth it anymore when you yourself don't want it. So don't take it away from your kids. And so I spend a lot of time with my boys every weekend. We're out, we're playing sports together, not through leagues and just sitting there watching baseball. So I'm actually out there organizing sports events and activities for the kids, generally every weekend, or we're going out and having fun. We're doing activities. And then the same thing with my wife. And I can say that it's really hard to balance all of these elements together. But you'll know that you don't want to do it anymore when you say, I don't want to do it, as opposed to 15 years go by and your kids are like, I don't even know who my dad is, right? And that's really important to me. So take it away from your sleep. That's what I say. And if you can't work off of 5 hours of sleep, then you got to change something. If you can't work off 6 hours, you got to change something. If you know that you can't work off of that without 8 hours of sleep, then you have to change something. The impact is to you and to you only. Does that make sense?
It does, and one of the most valuable assets we have is time. And I'm also a parent. I'm a CPA, so there were a lot of tax seasons where I did have to work late. Balance can mean different things to different people. Sometimes I think it's work-life fulfillment and making sure that, sometimes life is going to take priority. And sometimes, as you described, emergencies and business
Sure.
will be there, but being mindful of it and having some self-care. Today, we do talk a lot about self-care as well. 60 hours a week is a lot of hours. I've been known to work 80 in my tax season days, and those are definitely take its toll on everyone. So I really hope our audience takes some advice from that there. What would you say is the biggest time waster for business owners, particularly founders, given what you just described? What's the biggest time waster?
Working on the wrong things that don't produce the revenue.
Ah, yes,
And
money-making activities.
yeah. I think a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs, we're trying to do so many different things, and we think everything is important. But the way you need to prioritize things are: does it help produce revenue? Does it help make a customer happy, which will end up producing revenue? And or will this infrastructure, item, asset, whatever, will it lead to will it create more leads, which will create more conversations, which will create more revenue? Those are the things that we need to prioritize first. Once those are prioritized and humming, then you can start focusing on some of the other things. And that's really a challenge, as a founder. And I know I'm saying it, because usually, that time from like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning is when I'm doing all the stupid crap that, it just piles up on you throughout the day. Because you got pulled into a meeting, and what a 15-minute conversation turned into a 2 hour long brainstorming session, right? And there's 25 different rabbit holes. And so I have to remind myself of that. The other thing I would say is perfection is the enemy of progress. And
Yes,
I am a perfectionist. Let me tell you, I don't want to release nothing that isn't perfect out in the marketplace, but it is absolutely the enemy of progress. And I think that's one of the big challenges that we have, is that if you are a perfectionist like myself, what ends up happening is you keep pushing, iterating, and you never get anything out. So get something out. Get something out, and iterate on that one, and allow people to understand the journey. So when we're talking to individuals and they're like, well, this doesn't work, well, that doesn't work, and we're like, hey, we're going to add it to the list, but I appreciate you so much being on the journey with me and helping me through these first couple of years. And please keep telling us, because we want to hear it. We want to know when something's broken. It's software. Even some of the world's largest applications that I use, from HubSpot or Salesforce. I was just
right.
talking to my development team earlier, and I was like, look at this, guys. Look at this ginormous bug that is in one of these major players' application. It like didn't even work. And so everybody was laughing. And I said, well, here's the good news. Even big software companies make ginormous mistakes as well. And that's what we have to recognize, is that perfection is the enemy of progress. And I had one of my co-founders who helped me start Vengreso service company originally, a very good friend of mine, still on our advisory board, Bernie Borges. And that was his number one complaint about me as a leader, is that I was impeding progress because of my perfectionist attitude or thinking or requests. And so we definitely want to make sure that we get stuff out. And in software, it's better to get something out than to have nothing out.
Right. And I think perfectionism, can hurt our teams too, the people that report to us. So not only do you not want to put it out, it's never good enough, but you're not you're actually hurting the progress, because you won't find out earlier. If there's something broken, it might be software, it might be something in your process, it might be, business owners have all kinds of business is a collection of systems and processes. So sometimes it's the software is still a tool. It's something that will help you when you're running a business. You're running the business of a software, so it also has many segments. So I'm glad you shared that. I think there's a lot of A-type personalities and perfectionists who are running businesses. So I want to end up thinking about. I often teach, and many consultants teach, that cash is the oxygen of your business. If that's true, sales is like the heartbeat. If you don't have a sales process, if you don't have something, you don't have a business over time. Many of our listeners don't have a sales team. They don't have sales leaders. What would be your tips for how they can get started if they don't have sales? And maybe they're even uncomfortable because they wear a different hat. Maybe they're a marketing person, or me, a CPA or a lawyer.
Well, first of all, if you're in that situation where you're not a seller, where speaking to people and asking for the business doesn't come natural to you, I think what's very important to understand is that hiring a seller is not going to solve the problem.
Mm,
And that's really important that you understand that, because there is nobody more passionate about your business than you, whether you're a selling founder or a with sales experience, or you're a technology co-founder, or, don't have any sales experience. Nobody is going to be more passionate about the business than you. So you find what it takes to be able to grow your business by getting out there and having conversations, and then asking people to be able to engage. That's the first thing. The second thing that I think people need to realize is that nothing happens until someone sells something.
mm.
So sell something, and tell people along the journey that I could really use your help with, and you fill in the blank. Why? Why is that important to you? Right. And then allow people to be part of that particular journey with you in that particular regard. So I think that's what people need to understand, is that having a seller is not going to solve the problem. You have to go out there, train yourself, educate yourself, practice, use the mirror, get a coach. Any of those take some training, right? If you have no idea how to do prospecting, if you have no idea how to conversation, think of the sales spectrum as two ends: pre-hello to the hello, hello to the close. That's the spectrum that you've got to think about this. And wherever you need help at, from pre-hello to hello or hello to close, you've got to solve that problem.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us and all your experience. How can people find you on whether social media or your websites?
Yeah, so you can go to flymsg.io. That's flymsg.io. You could also go to vengreso.com. People wonder, what's the difference between Vengreso and Fly Message? It's like Meta and Facebook. That's all we did. So no difference, guys that are listening in. So flymsg.io. You can get everything I talked about today. Start a free trial on the platform, and you can even use it free for life if you want to. And then, of course, I'm on social media, Mario Martinez Jr. Make sure you tell me that you heard me with Linda Hamilton. If you're going to reach out to me and connect with me, you heard me with Linda Hamilton on this particular show right here with Linda. And or go to YouTube, Vengreso, Vengreso. We're all over YouTube, TikTok, and everything else that you can possibly imagine.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you'll join us again next week for another episode of Balancing Acts. I, for one, am always going to the Vengreso because there's so much to learn there, whether it's on marketing or sales or thought leadership, using LinkedIn, using AI tools. So, and I'm really trying to perfect my use of AI tools, which I feel I'm pretty savvy, but there's definitely a learning curve. So join us again next week for another episode of Balancing Acts.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.